Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of RCTW Observer. This is Jason and I'm here to play, observe, and review all things RollerCoaster Tycoon related. Welcome back and happy holidays. So on Friday the 18th, Atari and Invisio showed a stream on Alienware's Twitch channel for the latest build of the RollerCoaster Tycoon World game. Now, they had some initial problems getting it started. The audio for Matt and Steven were not working too well, but I'm just going to kind of jump to the part where it actually did have the audio working, even though I'm going to be muting the audio and show you what they had to say. I'm not going to show the entire thing. I'm just going to do some highlights and review some of the things that they said were coming out for the next beta, which still hasn't actually been announced as far as when that's happening. It's still set for what they're calling early 2016. So in the lower left corner there, we got Matt LaBunca at Atari, and to the right of him is Stephen Lumpkin, who is a senior designer at Invisio, and they're the ones that have been doing a lot of the legwork, putting this thing together and getting the development builds updated based on the things that we've suggested as far as feedback is concerned since the last beta. They've, in essence, in this stream just showed us updates in regards to the coaster builder. Not a lot of stuff as far as custom scenery or anything like that. It's all focused still around the custom coaster builder designing. So here he's just kind of showing, oh, look at the water, which we've already seen before. They're going to show a little bit more about the water later on. In regards to how it looks now, you might even see a little bit of changes there if you really got a good eye for detail. But they, in essence, just jumped right back into the coaster building. So we're going to go ahead and take a little jump into the next segment here. So here they're just getting started with putting a new coaster in the park they've already got created. Now, I'm not sure if this is a new feature or not, but you can see how they're kind of raising and lowering the station there. Before, I don't think I ever tried it before, so I'm not sure if that's an older feature or an enhancement, but I had a hard time placing my station where the coaster track itself from the station was kind of almost at the same level as the ground, and I ended up having to raise it in the first part there. So if that is an improvement, congratulations, Atari. That's a pretty good one. If not, then I just need to be more observant. So here you're going to see that they've actually gone ahead and done what they said they were going to do, and they've created segment building. You can actually now do segment building, and you can also do the free form building on the fly. You can switch anytime you want to, and you can, in essence, design a coaster the same way that you did in RollerCoaster Tycoon 3, or you can do it in the new RCTW freeform building design. So down below you see all the little cursors for, flat track. You can do inclines, you can do curves, and they even have a new segment where you can actually build, I think, some special inversions and loops and stuff like that. They do show a little bit of an example of a loop later on, but you can see there he just created a really easy hill, and I think that's fantastic because it was kind of a pain the last time to get your track exactly right, or exactly straight. Before it was, you weren't sure if it was straight or if it was crooked or if it was at an angle. Now you know for a fact when you do the segmented building that it's going to be 100% straight. And like I said, they're showing you here, you can actually change it from a segmented building track to a freeform segment as well, and design the nodes however you want to. You can curve them, you can twist them, you can pitch them, you can roll them, do whatever you want to do. Basically, the only limitation is your imagination. So kudos. I think this is a fantastic update. Congratulations, Atari. This is a good one. So another thing I want to draw attention to, kind of at the bottom where the segment buttons are, there is a little dial, which is the angle at which you can place, I think, your tracks, if I remember correctly. So rather than switching to the little rotation buttons on the right there where you can hit numbers 1 through 4, you can also use that little dial and control it with your mouse rather than using the mouse wheel. You can just click it and then just drag it, and it'll rotate it based on whatever angle you decide to do it at. So I think that's kind of a nice little enhancement if somebody wants to be like super accurate about an angle on one curve and another angle on another curve. That might be something that'll be really helpful to somebody if they're really trying to be super articulate and picky about how their coaster turns every time. So pretty good little enhancement there. So another thing that they've actually improved upon is the warning system that the track gives you when you're placing it and it's not in a good spot. You see when he's bending it there in a position where the train will not fit, there's a little ghost car, if you will, that shows up, and the track shadow, if you will, turns red. They've eliminated the yellow. Now there's no more cautionary color in there anymore. There's just red and there's white. If it's white, it'll run good. If it's red, your coaster won't fit there, and that little ghost train will actually fit on there and show you the reason why. Like if your track is bending too crazy, or if it's like too tight of a turn, or if it's too tight of a loop, it'll actually give you that little ghost coaster to show you that it's not going to work. So kind of cool, very accurate, I think, and that way people are not guessing, well, why can't I place my track there anymore? So maybe that'll help eliminate some of the confusion while we're doing freeform building. So as I mentioned earlier, they've also created some natural inverted elements, such as loops, at least. It looks like that's the only one available now, but you can see it's now just as easy as a click of a button, and it jumps that loop right in there. Now, they did talk about how the supports would actually fit in there. They are working on a system where if your track is at a certain height, it will eventually change to sort of an A-frame rather than just those straight posts that you see over there on the lift hill. So I don't know if it's going to be something available in the next beta. It sounded like they might have it available, but for now, it's something that they're still working on, and it's one of the things that I know that I was kind of frustrated about because it looked very RCT2 just to have those straight support beams instead of more of a A-frame there to give it more of a realistic look. Now, the supports for the loop are kind of weird. I still really wish that they would let us customize the supports, but honestly, based on the direction they're going and the things that I've heard so far, I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and maybe just put some more suggestions out there on the Atari forum. I mean, that's what it's there for. If you guys think the same thing that I do, that we should have more control over the supports and be able to change them on the fly from an A-frame to like an angled beam or just a straight pole, I mean, go ahead and comment. Sign up, guys. Post your comments on there. They have tons of different categories you can actually provide your feedback on. They may listen to us. If we get enough people on there saying that we want it, they might actually make this an enhancement in the future. So one other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is they have actually updated the grid functionality in the sense that you get more of a refined grid when you get closer in. You can see here an example of it. Like when you zoom out, it turns into just these giant blocks, but when you zoom back in, it turns into more a fine set of squares. And I think they've done this for developing so you can actually place smaller objects and snap them to each other. And they did actually say that is an improvement that they have made. They didn't necessarily show it, they just showed where they'd place like fences, for example, that they have actually used that new tool to snap them to each other and that more refined grid to be able to place them in a more accurate location than you were able to before. Because before now, you didn't, even the grid didn't let you snap an edge of a fence to another edge of a fence. You had to sort of just place it where you thought it was right and how it looked good. But now that's done and over with, we can actually snap our fence pieces together and hopefully other custom scenery objects together to make it look even that much more accurate. So I've skipped ahead a little bit here, and now they've gone ahead and they've colored their trains and they've colored their track. They tried to make a little bit of a Christmas theme, as you can see, with the red and the green. And now I think they're going to jump in and start testing it. And one enhancement that I thought was pretty cool, that's going to be coming up here pretty soon, is that when you test your coaster, you can now actually change it from a bird's eye view, if you will, from your free floating camera to an actual coaster view. That's right, you can actually test your coaster while you're riding your coaster, which I think is really great. And we weren't able to do that in the first beta, and I was really disappointed that I had to wait until the test results were over, make sure the coaster was completely safe for everybody to be on before I could actually go on and test it. So they've actually made an improvement to that, and here you can actually see they've jumped from the bird's eye cam to the coaster cam, and he's celebrating there in the lower left corner that you can actually do that now, and I think it's really great. And I mean, this is not the greatest coaster in the world that he's built. It was just really done very quickly, but you can get an idea of how easy it is to switch from the overhead view to the coaster cam view while you're testing. So really, really good improvement. I'm really happy that they did this one. So jumping a little bit further ahead here, looks like they've got their coaster completed. They had to make some tweaks to make sure that it actually got to the station the right way, and it passed. So congratulations, guys. You made a really wonky looking coaster there, but it still passed the test. So in the previous, one of the previous blogs, they had talked about adding a heat map to the coaster after the test has been done, and here is an actual example of where that heat map applies. So you can see examples like the coaster lift hill is in green, and then it kind of gets into a yellow area when it starts going down. And the areas where there's going to be a lot of G-forces, I'm assuming, are where the red and yellow areas are. Kind of cool. It tells you an example of where the G's are going to be really applied and how intense your coaster is going to be, and you can make tweaks to it as you go along to adjust those heat spots, if you will, if you think that your coaster is a little bit too intense. So I wasn't quite understanding what they meant by heat map before. I thought it was going to change like the whole view of the park to sort of like a predator mode, if you will. But it doesn't look like that at all. It actually looks pretty decent. I don't know how much we're actually going to use it, but it might be a way for people to actually refine and fine-tune their coaster to make it a little bit more pleasant for their peeps to ride. So another thing that they actually asked was, or I think one of the people in the forum or the live stream asked is, can you test your coaster when it's not completed? Well, they decided to test that theory, and the answer is obviously yes, you can test it. And they kind of created a little bit of a ramp at the end of that incomplete segment towards the middle left side of your screen there. And here comes the train, and it's going to do exactly what you think it's going to do. It's going to launch off like we've seen before, not a big surprise, and it's going to fail. Big fail with a red X in the middle, and there goes your coaster car's landing. And they said it explodes, but I think it just goes poof. Not much of an explosion, but still kind of cute. You know, at least it disappears. I think in the last beta that we played, we had some issues with the cars not disappearing off of the map when it actually crashed, and they would stay there, and they would just never come. They would never go away. Not sure what the problem was with that, but it looks like they fixed it. So as I was mentioning earlier at the beginning of this video, they did actually do some improvements to the water, and you can see it here, not necessarily in the way that it's filled or removed from the park. That's the same. It's still that same kind of fluid motion that when you fill it up, it kind of just flows in there, and when you empty it, it kind of just drains out. That's all the same, but what they have improved is they've added reflections, and here you can kind of see the reflections of like the rocks and even the supports and the track in the distance. So kind of a nice feature. I don't remember this being I don't remember there not being reflections in the water before, but they've added them now, or at least they're showing that they're in there now. So very pretty. I don't know if it's going to be able to run on everybody's graphics cards. That's probably going to be something that if you have a lower end card, it may not work so well, but if you have a higher end, this is probably what it's going to look like. So another enhancement since the last beta, they've actually made a coaster completer, I guess, if you will, and it'll auto-complete the end of your coaster regardless of where your track is. So you can see that here they built a wooden coaster, and just with one click of a button, it'll actually complete the coaster and put the track back into your station automatically based on its, I guess, most logical placement. So that's kind of cool if you're having a difficult time maybe trying to figure out how you're going to place your track and get it lining up back to your station. You can just click that button. It'll drop you right back into the station to finish up your coaster. So that's kind of a neat new design. So this is something they've actually talked about in the previous production posts is blueprints. And what blueprints allow you to do is they allow you to save your coaster designs, upload them to the Steam community, and then download other blueprints from people that have actually built other ones and save them in there to download into your park. And you can see here they're doing an example of one that was already created before, and it's just as easy as clicking on that little new icon, looks like a compass, and you can just click the one that you want that you've either imported or downloaded, which I think you can just do on the fly. There's no reason to exit the game or come back in like we used to have to do, and drop it right into your park. So I think that's pretty cool. Like if you wanted to share your coaster creations with somebody else, you just go to the blueprints plan, you pick your coaster like they're doing there, and drop it into the park wherever it lets you, just like that. And then you can test it, you can ride it, you can design around it, and share with your friends, share with your family, share with your neighborhood dog, like I've told you before. It doesn't really matter. I mean, anybody who can actually create and save can download it from the community. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. So just a couple of wrap-up notes here, guys. Earlier I did mention that they've improved the grid system where you can actually snap your fences to each other, and here they showed, like I said, how they look when they're placed and they're snapped to each other, but they didn't show actually working. So it'll be interesting to actually see how that works. And they've also made some improvements as far as your trees are concerned. Every time that you place a tree in the last beta, it was pretty much the same tree every time, same direction, same size. Now they've actually made more variations so that every time you place a tree, it's going to be a different height, it's going to be a different rotation, so that way it looks more random and a lot more realistic than if you were just to place a bunch of the same prop in the same area. One other final thing is they've actually put a free-form camera mode, or just a free camera mode, where you can actually, instead of just using your mouse like you normally do, just fly around your park just like you were flying around like Superman. And I think this is an example of it right here. You can just look up and down. You can. It's really unlimited. You can go anywhere you want to. You can get as high as you want, low as you want. It gives you a lot better options as far as where you want to place your camera, so you can take maybe screenshots or maybe even record video of your coasters. So that's about all we got for today, guys. One other thing that they showed us is that you can actually free look around while you're on the train, and you just use your mouse to look around up and down just to kind of see where you're at and your environment and how your coaster looks and enjoy the ride. There's really not much more information that they provided. There's still no update as far as when the next beta is going to be released. There's no update as far as a live release of the game. Still targeting what they're saying is early next year. Still don't know what that exactly means. Hoping that they will give us some more information on the next stream, which they also haven't announced. Still a little frustrated about that, but we're hoping that Atari is going to get their gear together and actually start giving us more content very soon, hopefully sooner than later. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like what I'm doing here and you like what we've been doing so far and what's to come, please give it a like, subscribe, share with your family and your friends, and until next time, be sure to keep it loopy.